It's your girl Samaya. Welcome or welcome back, depending on this is your first video. If you're new here, welcome. I'm going to explicitly go over in this video how I draw my zones so accurately and why my zones are so trusted for direction confirmation. I'm going to break all of that down and give you several examples on GBP JPY. I decided to do a currency pair for this because my futures chart for natural gas is so marked up. I didn't want it to get too confusing, but I don't have anything marked up for GBP JPY just because I haven't traded it in like 4 months. But with that said, go ahead and give this video a like and subscribe if you haven't already for more videos like this on trade breakdowns and trading tips and strategies and all that good stuff. Okay, so let's get right into it. I'm going to share my screen. And this is current price for GBP JPY. Let me see, computer's slow. Okay, so I'm gonna break it down for you guys, okay? I got some questions about this in my Discord, and I was like, you know what? I'm gonna make a video on just zones, right? And how I draw them. So essentially, for if you're taking notes, right? I draw my zones based off most recent high and most recent low of the opening candle for New York session. Okay, so this is how I have my chart set up to make it really simple and plain, right? This is the opening candle for New York session, all right? This is the opening candle for New York session. So each of these white zones, I call them they're my kill zones, right? Every day it just highlights in white, right? In that white area, it highlights for me what the opening candle is. I don't trade before this candle in this white zone, right? The opening candle. I don't trade before that white or before the opening candle closes. Okay, so I'm only taking trades as early as the very next candle, right? Which for me, if I was on natural gas, you would know that that's my 7 a.m. candle, right? But on GBP JPY, this would be as early as 6 a.m. Okay, Pacific time. All right, Pacific time. It will be 8 a.m. in this case. If you're trading GBP JPY, it would be 8 a.m. Central time, and then 9 a.m. Eastern time. Okay, but this would be 6 a.m. for me if I was trading GBP JPY. I wouldn't trade until 6 a.m. my time, right? Because that's after the opening candle closes, okay? All right, so now I do everything based off of my opening candle. So this is the opening candle down here, okay? I'm looking to the left. I'm looking at all of this activity here. And I want to look at, when I say most recent, right? All of these candlesticks represents time, okay? We're on the 1 hour time frame. So this is an hour ago, 2 hours ago, 3 hours ago, 4 hours ago, and so forth. So when I say most recent, I mean, I'm referencing time, okay? So the most recent high, and I'll get my drawing tool out. The most recent high before the opening candle appeared is right here. And I'll mark it blue, so we know that this is the high. And if I get a break, right, after my opening candle closes, if I get a break above this zone, I want to take buys, okay? So how did I draw that? I'll go over that again, right? I'm basing it, I draw my zones from base to wick of the candle that I deem as the high or the low, okay? So this is the high for me, right? Obviously, this is the highest point prior to this opening candle, but this is hours ago, okay? So from opening candle here, this is 23 hours ago. That's not recent, okay? So literally, when I say most recent high, that's exactly what I'm doing. In reference to time, this is the most recent high, okay, before this candle. I could mark this, right, as a high, but there's an even more recent high than that, and that's the one that I just had marked up. Does that make sense? As if you guys can answer me. But hopefully that makes sense, right? This is a high, this is a high, this is the highest point, right? But the most recent high in reference of time, okay? This is, you know, what, 4 or 5 hours ago compared to 19 hours ago compared to 23 hours ago, okay? Now I'm going to do the same thing for my low. Okay, now this one's pretty clear because this is the market just is flowing down, right? So the most recent low before my opening candle is right here. Okay, the very candle just before it. So I would mark that off. All right, and that is my low. So I'm going to mark it red because if I get a break outside of this zone, then I want to take sells, right? And as you can see, the market went in that direction. If I like to take my entries off of the 5 minute. So this is what that would have looked like, okay? You get that break, pull back, and that's exactly where I enter. I enter off of the pullback every time, okay? So if I were to be entering into this, just so you guys can see it before I get into another example of drawing a zone, I would, in this case, I like to give 10 pips or so, 10 to 15 pips. But in this case, I will mark it just above this zone, okay, because it's right there. And I like to go for a 1 to 3. So this would have been my trade, right? I like to go 1 to 3 or target previous structure, like previous areas of significance in the market, but a 1 to 3 works in this case, right? We can do a separate video on risk to reward, entries, and all that good stuff. But for this video, that's how I would draw my zones in this particular case, right? You could have even done maybe here, right? But personally, I think this is a better zone for the low, okay? Let's do another example, right? So based off of this opening candle, okay? Now this is not the cleanest, but we can work with it, okay? I'm looking, let's do the high first, right? The most recent high, that would make sense, right? Okay. So I have this as a high here off of this wick, okay? But there's a more recent, there's not a more recent because this is before, right? This came after. So there's this high, but then this is a more recent. But this is a high here, this is a high here, and this is a high here. I personally would not like to draw a zone that's this big, which captures this entire from body to wick, right? I wouldn't draw a zone that wide. I like my zones to be a little more concise and cleaner than that. But let's just go with it for this example, right? If this was the zone and I marked all of this off as a high, and I'll mark it blue, it would have to break out of here, okay, significantly, right, with momentum for me to trust to take this buy. I can mark this as a low. Again, I like zones that are a little bit smaller, like a little bit thinner than this, right? But based off of this candle here, okay, this is a low, and granted, right, you could look at this and don't be confused, right? Because I don't want you to look at this and say, well, this went lower than that, right? Like this wick is lower than that. This zone is just way too thick, okay? So just to concise it a little bit, all right? I would take my zone off of this body to this wick candle, okay? And as you can see, this is valid because price got trapped up completely in the zone, and that would have saved you from a fake out, okay? Eventually, however, if you just extend this out, price did break, okay? Price did break, and let's come down to the 5 minutes so you guys can see this from different points of view, okay? Price did break, and it did have some indecision, right? So it went back to retest that zone, but eventually when it did break, it pulled back, right? I'll extend this even more. It broke, eventually did pull back to that red zone, okay? And then it had its flow from there, right? And had its momentum. And then it's the next day, and then we have those new zones that we draw. I draw my zones fresh every day, okay? I'll go and do one more example so this video isn't too long, maybe 2 more examples. Let's go here, okay? So here we have our opening candle, I want to look at everything before that candle, right? Like at least from kill zone to kill zone, I want to look at that activity, okay? So the most recent high, obviously this is the highest point, but what is a more recent high than that, right? Because we're looking at this as 1, 2, 3 hours ago versus 4, 5, 6, 7 hours ago, okay? So this high stands out to me. Mark that blue. If this opening candle or anything that happened, right, from this opening candle forward, moving forward in time, if price broke above this zone, that would have been a signal for me that I might be taking buys today, okay, or on this particular day. Now, this candle here, right, opening candle, I want to see the low, a low that I can mark off before this, okay? So I have a low here, I have a low here. Since I have equal lows, right? So, oops, sorry, wrong tool. Let me go to that. Since I have equal lows here, right? Could almost say like 3 of them, right? So here, yeah, I can't draw. Here, here, and here, okay? So that, and then I'll see if I can just clone that, perfect. And then here, right, in this area. So with these lows, okay, I want to box that off because price came to these areas, right? So I will take it from pretty much just kind of like glancing at this body to this wick off of that candle. I'll take that, right? So I got a nice clean break out of here, okay? And if I come down to the 5-minute, you can see what that would have looked like for entry purposes. This is when I got the break right after. Okay, well, we got the break before the opening candle, so we'll take that. Break, pullback, entry would have been right after the pullback, okay? So if you guys can see that, this was the break, right? It broke eventually with all this momentum, it broke outside of out of this zone, right? Where price just kept revisiting, where I have in these circled areas here. So price was able to break beyond that support, okay? Had that pullback, which we love to see. That is very clean market structure. And then off the pullback, once I got a momentum candle, something like this, I would have gone for about 10, 15 pips. I would have gone just above this high here, right there, okay? And I would have taken this for a 1 to 3. Could have taken it a little bit further, but 1 to 3 is really consistent for me. And then that would have been my trade right there. So I'll point out too, this is the momentum candle that stood out to me for entry, right? This is still a wick, or this is still a doji. But when I got that flat top, right, on my Hakanashi candles, I would have been looking to take that entry there, okay, for a 1 to 3. All right, so hopefully those were some pretty good examples. You can do this zone method on anything that you personally like to trade. If it's currencies, if it's individual stocks, if it's indices, commodities like gold, futures, which I love to trade, anything like that. This method works on all of it. So if this was helpful, give this video a thumbs up. Leave a comment down below if you have any questions, and definitely don't forget to subscribe and turn on the notification bell for more videos like this. But with that being said, I will see you in the next upload.